Blood soaked through my fingers as I pressed down on his chest. His breath came in shallow gasps, each one sounding like it could be his last. "Stay with me," I shouted, though my voice cracked with fear. The alley was cold, the streetlight flickering above us, casting his pale face in shadow. I didn't know his name. I didn't know why someone had stabbed him. All I knew was that if I let go, he would die right there in my arms. "Please, don't you dare leave me," I whispered. His hand, trembling and weak, clutched mine. His lips parted, but instead of words, only blood spilled at the corner of his mouth. My heart pounded louder than the city noise around me. I didn't stop pressing. I didn't stop praying. I didn't stop hoping that this stranger would live, because somehow in this terrifying moment, saving him felt like saving myself. And yet, as sirens wailed in the distance, I couldn't shake the chilling thought. What if this wasn't random? What if I had just pulled myself into a story far bigger, far more dangerous than I ever imagined? I didn't know it then, as I pressed my trembling hands to the chest of a stranger bleeding out in a dark alley, that my life would never be the same. I didn't know the man whose heart I fought to keep beating was Liam Sterling, feared CEO, ruthless in business, a man who destroys anyone who dares touch what's his. And I definitely didn't know. I had just become the one thing he would never let go.
Welcome to another story on Ever After Stories. If you're new here, subscribe and join our growing family of listeners who crave love, power, and romance that leaves you breathless. Now, let's dive into the story.
Chapter 1. The Rescue. The paramedics nearly had to drag me away from him when they arrived. My hands were stained red, my dress ruined, but I didn't care. I couldn't look at anything else except the stranger I'd fought to keep alive. Inside the ambulance, his eyes fluttered open for a moment. Gray, sharp, piercing. Even half-conscious, they stole the air from my lungs. "You," he croaked, but the oxygen mask silenced his words. I reached out instinctively, brushing his arm. "Don't talk. Just hold on." Hours later at the hospital, I sat in the waiting room, my nerves shredded. Why did I care so much? Why did it feel like losing him would shatter something inside me? When the doctor finally approached, I leapt to my feet. "Will he make it?" "He's stable," the doctor said. Relief flooded me, but it lasted only a second before the doctor added, "He wants to see you." Confusion swirled in my chest. Me? I wasn't family. I wasn't anyone to him. And yet, when I entered the sterile hospital room, those gray eyes locked onto mine with startling intensity. He looked weaker, pale, but his voice carried a strange authority as he whispered, "You saved me, and now I won't let anyone touch you. Ever." The hairs on the back of my neck stood. His words weren't gratitude. They were a promise, a vow, a warning. And in that instant I realized I hadn't just saved a man. I had woken a storm. Chapter 2. The Bond Ignites. The hospital room smelled of antiseptic and cold metal, but the moment our eyes met, the world around me blurred. His gaze, sharp despite the weakness in his body, pinned me in place. I swallowed, unsure of what to say. "You should rest." Instead of relaxing, he shifted slightly, ignoring the pain that flickered across his face. "No one has ever dared to do what you did tonight. You stayed. You fought for me." His voice was low, steady, like a command wrapped in gratitude. "I couldn't just walk away," I said softly, wringing my hands together. "You were bleeding out. You would have died." The corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, not quite a frown. "People see danger, and they run. But you..." His gaze raked over me, studying me with unnerving precision. "You ran toward it. Toward me." Heat climbed up my neck. I wasn't used to anyone looking at me like that, as though I was something rare, something unexpected. "I'm not special," I whispered. "I just couldn't leave you there." His expression darkened, eyes narrowing with an intensity that made my stomach knot. "You are special, and because of that, the world will try to break you. But I won't let them." A shiver ran down my spine. His words should have comforted me, but instead they carried a strange, dangerous weight. Who was this man? Why did he speak like a king guarding his throne? Before I could question him further, the door swung open. A tall man in a suit, his expression carved from stone, entered the room. His eyes flicked to me, cold and assessing, before he leaned close to the bed. "Mr. Sterling," he said firmly, "it isn't safe here. We need to move you." Mr. Sterling. The name hit me like a blow. I knew that name. Everyone did. Liam Sterling, billionaire CEO of Sterling Enterprises, ruthless in business, untouchable in power. Rumors said he destroyed competitors without blinking, left rivals in ruins, and never forgave betrayal. And he was the man I had dragged out of an alley, the man whose blood still stained my skin. I took an unsteady step back. Yes. He cut me off, his eyes locked on mine. "And you, Grace?" He spoke my name as if he had known it all his life. My knees nearly buckled. "How do you?" "I know everything I need to," he said, his tone final, brooking no argument. "You saved me, and now, whether you like it or not, you're under my protection." The man in the suit gave a tight nod, as if this decision was absolute law. My chest tightened. "Protection? From what?" "I don't need protection," I said quickly, my voice sharper than I intended. I just helped. That's all." Liam's eyes softened, but only slightly. "And that's exactly why you do. You think this was a coincidence? That I ended up bleeding in that alley by chance?" My heart stuttered. "You mean someone wanted you dead?" His silence was my answer. The weight of it pressed down on me until I could barely breathe. My hands trembled. I wasn't just caught up in some random accident. I was standing in the middle of something dangerous, something that had almost killed him. "You shouldn't be near me," I whispered, more to myself than to him, but his voice cut through the panic like steel. "On the contrary, Grace, if you're not near me, you won't survive." The man in the suit returned with a wheelchair. Liam grimaced as he was helped into it, but he never once looked away from me. "You're coming with me," he ordered. "I can't," I blurted. "I have a life, a job, "Then that life ends the moment you walk out of this hospital without me," he interrupted. His tone was calm, but it carried the weight of truth. "The people who came for me tonight, they'll come for you too, because you touched me, because you mattered." My breath caught. Fear slammed into me, sharp and real. The guard's hand touched my arm, firm but not unkind. "Miss, you should listen." And for the first time in years, I didn't know what choice was mine anymore. By the time we left the hospital, the world outside seemed darker, heavier. A sleek black car waited at the curb, and once inside, I sat stiffly, my pulse hammering in my ears. Liam leaned back against the leather seat, pale but still somehow commanding the air around him. "You're wondering why I'm dragging you into this," he said, his eyes never leaving mine. "Yes," I admitted, my voice trembling. "I don't know you. You don't know me. Why me?" His gaze softened in a way that stole my breath. "Because you didn't run." Silence filled the space between us, thick with tension, with something unspoken sparking in the air. My chest rose and fell too quickly, and I looked away, afraid of what I'd see if I held his gaze too long. But even as I turned, I felt his stare lingering, searing into me with a promise I didn't yet understand. And deep inside, though fear twisted in my gut, another feeling rose to the surface, something I hadn't felt in a very long time: hope. But I didn't know yet if that hope would save me or destroy me. Chapter 3. The danger deepens. The car sped through the city streets, its tinted windows sealing us into a world apart from the chaos outside. I sat pressed against the door, fingers knotted in my lap, while Liam Sterling reclined across from me, every inch the wounded king still commanding his throne. His presence filled the air, thick and undeniable. Even weakened, he carried himself with a kind of control that made me wonder if the universe itself bent when he spoke. I cleared my throat, desperate to break the silence. "Where are you taking me?" "To safety," he said simply. That's not an answer. He arched an eyebrow, the corner of his mouth twitching as though my defiance amused him. "Safety doesn't come with coordinates, Grace, it comes with me." I should have pushed harder. I should have demanded to be taken home. But home suddenly felt fragile, like a paper wall ready to crumble. Images of the alley flashed in my mind. The blood, his gasps for breath, the shadowy figure disappearing into the night. "Someone really wants you dead," I whispered. "More than one someone," he corrected, his tone sharp. "Business makes enemies. Power makes more. And I've spent a lifetime building both." I turned to him, my voice trembling. "And now I'm in it too. Because I didn't run." His gaze softened, only slightly. "Yes, but don't mistake that for weakness. It makes you stronger than most I know." The words should have comforted me, but they only made the knot in my chest tighter. Strong or not, I hadn't chosen this. I hadn't chosen him. The car finally slowed, pulling into a gated estate so massive it made my breath hitch. High walls, iron gates, cameras, guards at every corner. It was less a home than a fortress. When the doors opened, Liam didn't wait for assistance. He rose slowly, pain etched across his features, but his pride wouldn't allow a wince. He extended a hand to me, steady, commanding. For reasons I couldn't explain, I took it. His fingers curled around mine, warm, grounding, and yet electric all at once. Inside, the mansion gleamed with cold elegance. Marble floors, glass walls, chandeliers that seemed to stretch into the heavens. But no matter how beautiful it was, it didn't feel like home. It felt like a cage. "This isn't necessary," I said quickly, pulling my hand from his. "I don't need guards or walls. I just need to go back to my life." "You think they'll let you?" His voice was quiet, but it hit like steel. "You think they'll forget the woman who pressed her hands to my chest and kept me breathing when they wanted me gone?" I froze, the truth sinking in deeper. "You're marked now," he continued. "And the only way you walk away alive is if you stay where I can see you." His words weren't a plea. They were a decree, and yet underneath the weight of his command there was something else in his gaze, something almost vulnerable. "I don't even know who you really are," I admitted, my voice cracking. "You know enough," he murmured, stepping closer. His presence wrapped around me like a cloak, his scent, clean, sharp, a mix of danger and warmth, making my knees weak. "You know I'm a man who won't let you be touched. That should be enough." But it wasn't. That night, a guard showed me to a guest room. I collapsed onto the bed, staring at the ceiling, heart racing. I should have felt safe behind all those walls. Instead, I felt more exposed than ever. Sleep came in fitful bursts. I dreamed of the alley, of blood slick on my hands, of gray eyes burning into me. I woke to the sound of glass shattering. Adrenaline surged through me as I bolted upright. Footsteps pounded in the hallway, shouts echoed, and before I could move, the door flew open. A masked man lunged inside. I froze, terror pinning me to the bed. His knife gleamed in the dim light, his footsteps heavy as he advanced. My scream caught in my throat, but before the blade could fall, another figure slammed into him. Liam. He shouldn't have been standing, not with wounds so fresh, but there he was, wrestling the intruder to the floor with raw fury. The knife clattered away, the man pinned beneath him as guards stormed in, dragging the intruder out like a rag doll. And then it was just the two of us again, the air thick with shock. Liam turned to me, his chest heaving, blood seeping fresh through his bandages. "Are you hurt?" His voice was ragged, but his eyes burned with fire. "No," I whispered, my throat tight. "But you're bleeding again." He stumbled, and I rushed forward instinctively, catching his weight against me. His body was hot, heavy, trembling with both pain and strength. "Why would you do that?" My voice cracked as I held him upright. "You could have died. Again." His face was inches from mine, his breath hot against my skin. "Because no one touches you, not while I'm alive." The world tilted, my pulse racing so loud it drowned everything else. His words weren't just protection, they were possession. They were something dangerous, something undeniable. And as I looked into his storm-gray eyes, I realized the truth that terrified me most. I wasn't afraid of his enemies. I was afraid of what this man was starting to mean to me. Chapter 4. The Confession. I pressed him down onto the couch, panic racing through me as blood seeped through his shirt. "You need a doctor," I whispered, fumbling for something, anything, to stop the bleeding. Liam caught my wrist, his grip firm despite the tremor in his hand. "No doctors. Not tonight." "Are you insane?" My voice cracked with desperation. "You're bleeding because of me. They came for me, didn't they? If I wasn't here—" "Grace," he cut me off, his voice low but sharp as a blade. "They didn't come for you. They came because of me. You're in danger because you matter to me." The words silenced me more effectively than a shout. My breath stalled, my heart stuttered. "Matter to you?" I repeated softly, as if saying it aloud would make it less impossible. His gray eyes locked onto mine, raw and unflinching. "You ran toward me in that alley when the whole world would have run away. Do you understand what that means? In my life, loyalty is rarer than diamonds. Trust is rarer than air. And you—" His voice broke for the first time, rough with something I couldn't name. "You gave me both without asking for anything in return." Heat surged behind my eyes. I shook my head, unable to believe it. "I didn't do it for you, I couldn't let you die." "That's exactly why," he whispered. The silence that followed was heavier than steel. My hands still pressed against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath my palms. His skin was warm, fevered, his breath uneven. And yet, even with blood seeping between my fingers, the space between us pulsed with something far more dangerous. "Grace," he murmured, my name a prayer and a curse all at once. I should have moved. I should have pulled back, created distance, reminded myself who he was. A billionaire. A man with enemies. A storm I had no business stepping into. But I didn't. Instead, I whispered, "Why does it feel like I've known you forever when I only met you yesterday?" His hand lifted, slow and deliberate, brushing a strand of hair from my face. The touch was tender, reverent, but his gaze was fire. Because fate doesn't need time. It only needs a moment. My chest ached with emotions I couldn't name. And then, before I could think, before I could talk myself out of it, my lips parted. "If that's true, then why does it scare me so much?" "Because you know it's real." His voice was barely a whisper, yet it sank into me like truth carved in stone. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. His hand lingered near my cheek and I leaned into it before I realized what I was doing. Our faces were inches apart, breaths mingling, the electricity between us sparking hotter than fire. "Liam," I whispered. His name on my lips broke something inside him. He leaned closer, his forehead brushing mine, his breath ragged. "Tell me to stop," he said, his voice trembling with restraint. "If you don't, I won't." But I couldn't. I didn't want to. And in the space between heartbeats, I closed the distance. The kiss was nothing like I expected. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't soft. It was fire and desperation and gratitude and fear all tangled into one. His lips claimed mine with the ferocity of a man who had almost lost everything and found it again in me. My hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer despite the pain it must have caused him. He groaned against my lips, the sound raw, unguarded. For once, The ruthless billionaire wasn't untouchable. He was breakable, human, mine. When we finally pulled apart, breathless and trembling, I searched his eyes for regret. Instead, I found only conviction. "You don't understand what you've done to me," he said, his voice rough. "I swore never to let anyone this close again. But you—" He shook his head, his jaw tight. "You broke through walls I thought would stand forever." Tears stung my eyes. "And what happens now, Liam? You're a target. Anyone near you is a target. I can't live locked in a cage of fear, waiting for shadows to strike." His thumb brushed my cheek, catching a tear before it fell. "You won't live in fear. You'll live under my protection. And if anyone dares to touch you again, I'll burn the world down to keep you safe." The vow in his tone sent shivers down my spine. It wasn't romance. It was possession. And yet deep in my bones I believed him. Still fear lingered, not of his enemies, not of the danger, but of how much I wanted to believe him. The night stretched on, silence wrapping around us like a fragile shield. I stayed by his side until exhaustion claimed me, my head resting against his shoulder, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. I didn't know when sleep overtook me, but I knew the moment I woke again, because the mansion was burning with chaos. Shouts echoed through the halls, boots pounded against marble, and the sharp crack of gunfire shattered the dawn. I bolted upright, heart in my throat. Liam was already on his feet, his eyes darker than midnight. He grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the hidden corridor behind the bookshelf. "They've found us," he said, voice like steel. "And they won't stop until they take everything from me." His hand squeezed mine, fierce and unyielding. "But they will never take you." And as the walls shook with violence closing in, I realized our confession had come too late. Chapter 5. The Stand. The walls of the Sterling mansion shook with chaos. Gunfire cracked in the distance, shouts collided with the roar of boots on marble, and every sound made my pulse slam harder in my veins. Liam's hand gripped mine, firm and unyielding as he pulled me through the hidden corridor. His jaw was set, his gray eyes burning with the same storm I had seen in the alley, the storm that refused to die. We burst out into a dimly lit chamber that led to the underground garage. Black SUVs lined the space, sleek and ready. Guards moved in formation, weapons raised, their expressions cold and focused. "Get her out," Liam commanded, his voice carrying an authority that silenced even the panic around us. One of the guards nodded, reaching for me, but Liam's grip on my hand only tightened. He didn't let go. "Wait," I whispered, my voice trembling. "What about you?" His gaze met mine, steady as iron. "I'll handle them." "No," I snapped, panic clawing up my throat. "Not again. You almost died once. I can't watch you throw yourself into it again." For the first time since I'd met him, Liam Sterling hesitated. The walls of the ruthless CEO cracked, and something raw flickered across his face. "Grace." His voice broke. "You've given me something I never thought I'd have again. If I lose you, then all of this." He gestured around us, the cars, the guards, the empire. "Means nothing." Tears blurred my vision. "Then don't lose me. Don't leave me." For a heartbeat, the chaos around us faded. It was just his hand holding mine, just his eyes locked on mine, just two souls caught in a storm bigger than both of us. And then the storm crashed back in. The garage doors exploded inward with a deafening blast, smoke and debris filling the air. Figures in black stormed in, weapons drawn, their shouts echoing like thunder. Liam shoved me behind him, drawing a gun from the holster at his side with a speed that stole my breath. The man who had been bleeding in an alley days ago now stood tall, unflinching, every inch the ruthless king of his empire. Gunfire erupted. The world became chaos, bullets sparking against metal, shouts of pain, the acrid sting of smoke in my throat. I crouched behind a pillar, my heart hammering so hard I thought it might shatter my ribs. And through it all, Liam fought. Every movement was precise, controlled, as if he had lived his entire life preparing for this moment. He didn't just protect himself. He shielded me. Every glance, every step calculated to keep me out of the line of fire. But then, one of the masked men broke through the line, his gun raised, his aim locked on me. "Grace!" Liam's shout tore through the chaos. I froze, the world narrowing to the black barrel pointed at my chest. But before the trigger could be pulled, Liam threw himself between us. The shot rang out. I screamed. Liam staggered, the impact jerking through his body. He didn't fall, he refused to fall, but the sight of crimson spreading across his shirt ripped the air from my lungs. "No." I stumbled forward, catching him as his knees buckled. His weight pressed against me, heavy, burning with pain. His hand cupped my cheek, bloodied fingers trembling. "Grace." His voice was a rasp, broken and raw. "I told you. No one touches you. Not while I breathe." Tears streamed down my face. "Don't you dare leave me. Don't you dare." Behind us, guards surged forward, overwhelming the last of the intruders. Shouts dimmed, gunfire ceased, but I barely heard it. All I could hear was the ragged pull of Liam's breath, the fragile thread of life clinging to him. Paramedics rushed in, dragging us toward the SUV, hands working feverishly to stop the bleeding. I clung to him the entire time, refusing to let go, whispering his name like a prayer. Hours blurred, hospital lights, the beep of machines, doctors shouting orders. And then, silence. I sat by his bedside, his hand clasped in mine, my tears falling onto the sheets. "You can't do this," I whispered, my voice breaking. "You can't save me just to leave me. I won't survive it." A groan cut through the silence. His fingers twitched, curling weakly around mine. His eyes opened, gray and burning even through the haze of pain. "You're still here," he murmured. "Of course I am." My voice cracked. "I'll always be here." For the first time since I had met him, Liam Sterling smiled. Not the cold, calculated smirk of a billionaire. Not the dangerous curve of a man used to power. A real smile. Fragile. Human. "You've ruined me, Grace," he whispered. "And I've never been so glad." I leaned forward, pressing my forehead to his, my tears mingling with the warmth of his skin. "And you've saved me. Again and again." His lips brushed mine, soft, trembling, a promise written in the quiet of that hospital room. Then we save each other. Outside, the world still burned with enemies and dangers I couldn't yet name. But in that moment, with his hand in mine and his heartbeat steady beneath my touch, I knew the truth. I hadn't just saved a stranger in an alley. I had found the man who would tear the world apart before he let me go. And I wasn't going anywhere. The end.
Thank you for listening to this story on Ever After Stories. If this tale touched you, please drop a comment below. What would you have done if you found yourself saving a stranger who turned out to be a powerful billionaire? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And as always, thank you for being part of this journey with me.